announcement has been paid for by the new Howl order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, had a chance to hear from the fellas today, and it was less about what they had to say. One of the things that I took into consideration as I watched them struggle horrifically heading into the bye week was they've had the latest bye you can possibly have 2 years in a row. And I'm all for buys later in the season. I'd much rather have a later bye than a week 4 or a week 5 bye. But in saying that, when the season isn't going well, and we've seen it both ways, right? Last year, we were playing pretty solid ball going into the bye week. We were 7-5-1. We were actually disappointed that we tied with the Giants. But prior to that tie with the Giants, we had won 3 in a row. And we had won 6 out of 7. So the tie with the Giants was like a blip on the radar screen at that point. But you were feeling so good going into that bye. You thought everybody was going to be recharged. We knew who we were playing coming out of the bye, and it was going to be a massive game against the Giants. And literally, the winner of that game was going to the playoffs, and the loser could still make it, but their road and their path to the playoffs was going to be significantly tougher than that of the team that won that game. So we knew all of the stakes, what was on the line. We were going to be at home. It was the Sunday night game. We were all juiced and ginned up for it, and we didn't get it done, right? And so we saw what the bye week did for us last year. Absolutely nothing. This year, you're not even remotely close to where you were last year. You're 4-9. Your season's done. You suck. You got blown out in your last 3 games, 2 in particular, but the third one felt like a blowout loss to the Giants because they weren't any good when you lost to them again. And so it begs the question, were these guys just mentally exhausted, physically beat up and tired? Keep in mind, they haven't really had a break. And we could talk about the pseudo bye week that came at Thanksgiving or the pseudo bye week in week 5 against the Bears. But those aren't real true bye weeks. You get a couple extra days off, sure, but your body was never in its original state in the first place because you had to turn around after playing a grueling game the week before. You had to turn around in 4 days and put your body back out there, which hadn't recuperated from the last game, and put it out there again. So while you are technically getting a break, your body's still recovering from 2 games in the span of 4 days, essentially 5 days. It's not the same as a true bye week where you can just get away from the game altogether, rest your body altogether, and then come back refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to work. And we didn't have that. Each of the last 2 years, we did not have that. But a lot of what we've seen this year and a lot of what we saw, heading into the bye was a byproduct of where this team is, right? It was less about guys being mentally and physically drained and fatigued and more about we just suck. We're not well coached. It's a season going nowhere fast. It's a staff that won't be here next year. The players know it. The staff knows it. We've already had a coach or 2 coaches fired already. Yeah, it's a shit show. And that's probably more to blame for what we saw heading into the bye the last 2 weeks in particular and giving up 45 points, 90 points total in the last 2 games prior to the bye. But in watching a week of football without the Commanders and seeing so many underdogs, so many teams that were counted out, all of the 4-win teams, except for Washington, won last week. There were 5 of us heading into play in week 14. Washington was the only one that didn't play because they were on a bye. The other 4-win teams, the Bears, the Titans, the the Giants, and there's one more. Bears and the Jets. Bears, Titans, Giants, Jets, all won on Sunday. Or Monday. Titans won on Monday. Giants won on Monday. And a slew of other teams that people didn't expect to win on Sunday or Thursday, in the case of the Patriots, won. Pretty much what I'm trying to convey to you is they didn't quit. They didn't throw in the towel. They didn't just show up, collect a check, get their asses whooped, and go on about their business. They played for pride. The Patriots aren't going to the playoffs. Bill Belichick won't be there next year. They could mail it in, but they didn't. They went out on the road, played for pride, got a win. And there's three other teams probably in the same boat. The Chargers, their season's done. They're probably more closer to us than they are, say, the Jets, who will have the same exact coaching staff next year. They'll be intact. They'll be back, and there'll be a renewed sense of hope with Aaron Rodgers healthy. It'll be a different situation next year. Chargers, not so much. They'll have a new head coach, possibly a new GM, and shit'll change. Or maybe they'll stay the same. I don't know. But it won't be the exact same staff that's there now. And they look a lot like us. Now they're starting to get their asses kicked. Their quarterback is done for the year. Their shit looks like it's going south. The Bears could fire their coach. They're still playing hard. You heard what Montez Sweat said. He's doing a really good job of keeping them together, giving them reasons to play, giving them goals to strive and attain to every single week, making the challenges new and fresh, making sure that, you know, they're finding reasons to keep going out there and battling with one another for their brother. Meanwhile, our shit is desolate. Guys, Charles Leno, to me, had the best quote of all of the players, and we heard from a slew of players today. Obviously, Sam took the podium. We'll talk about what he had to say. But, you know, I don't listen to Ronald. I haven't listened to him since the week of the Giants game. I didn't listen to him post-second Giants game. I haven't listened to him since, so I can't tell you what he's talking about, nor do I care at this point. But I care about what the players have to say. And we heard from Charles Leno Jr. We heard from Logan Thomas. We heard from Antonio Gibson. We heard from Jonathan Allen. And I think I'm missing one more person. And Emmanuel Forbes Jr. All right, we heard from a bunch of guys. And Charles Leno Jr. sums it up, right? Which is where this team is, and it's a damn shame. But you could tell part of the answer was a bit of frustration mixed in about the sacks question. And the question pretty much was, you know, how did you spend your, your bye week? Did you watch film? How can you improve this line? You know, all the sacks given up, et cetera, et cetera. And how can you finish up the season strong these final 4 games? And you can tell that's probably a sore spot for him, because he's like, bro, we didn't answer this a million times. The shit is what it is. It's not just on us, the offensive line. Everybody's got a hand in it. And so he pretty much went off and was like, look, I didn't do one single football thing other than, you know, out in the community, which is why he was the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for this team last year. He's like, I didn't do one thing in terms of football. I didn't watch no film. I didn't watch no games. I didn't do shit, involving football. At this point, like, these sacks are not just on us. It's a combination of things, a lot of things that are involved in those sacks. And look, at this point, I'm just worried about me. What can I do? I just got to do my job. Left tackle, block, do the best job I can, and that's it. And that's the mentality that's got us effed right now. Is everybody's just like, hey, I just got to worry about me. On an offensive line where you're supposed to be 5 guys moving is 1, and your left tackle is pretty much like, look, I don't really give a shit what anybody else is doing. I just got to do my thing, right? Like, and I get it too. Like, you hear this all the time, do your job. Individually, he has a job to do. And on most plays, he's doing his job by himself. out on an island as a tackle. But on a lot of plays, he's, double teaming with the guard, work up to the second level. He's getting out on screens. There's different things he's pulling. There's different things he's responsible for. And again, you need to work as a unit, but that's not what this team has done since the Seattle game. They haven't played as a team. They haven't played as one. It looks like a team full of individuals going out trying to play, and guys are effing up. And it looks like 53 individuals instead of one team trying to accomplish one goal, which is win. And I thought it was a fitting comment because that's where this team is. But to a man, everybody that I listened to said the same thing. Hey, we got to finish up. It's the same shit they've been saying since, Seattle, after the Seattle loss. Hey, we got to finish up strong. We got to play for pride. What are you playing for? All that same, for lack of a better phrase, political bullshit that you're supposed to say, politically correct bullshit that you're supposed to say this time of the year, right? I want to know who on this roster has pride, who actually gives a shit, who gives a damn. Because what I saw in week 14 from the Jets and the Bears and the Titans and the Giants and a slew of other teams that won that nobody thought was going to win, what I saw from the Vikings and the Raiders, even though it was 0-0, the Raiders aren't going anywhere but home when this season's over. They got an interim coach right now. They know changes are coming. Those guys are still out busting their ass. They didn't win, but it's not for a lack of effort. I saw a lot of teams fighting, playing with pride in week 14. Not laying down and losing by 30 some odd points and giving up a 40 burger, but going out and finding a way to get the shit done. Doesn't have to be pretty or gritty. Shit, it doesn't even have to be a dub at this point. We just don't want to see our team laying down and taking an ass whooping and showing little to no resistance. That's all I'm asking for. I'm like, look, if you don't win, that's fine. What I don't want to see on the field is guys who have absolutely mailed it in and quit. That shit is disgusting to watch. If there's one thing I hate more than being, because there's only one thing I hate more than a quitter. Only one thing. And that's somebody that is, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Ungrateful. I can't stand ungratefulness. You want to piss me off, be ungrateful. I mean, that gets me all the way to the top of my pissed off meter. Okay? Be ungrateful. But short of ungratefulness, a quitter is what pretty much is unacceptable for me. And the last 3 weeks, starting with that Giants game, after we knew the season was done because we needed to beat Seattle and we didn't. And I literally feel like we emptied our tank in that Seahawks game and we came away with a loss. And I don't think we ever responded from that loss. I've seen guys that I respect on this team who I see as leaders and guys that we're supposed to be turning to in times like this. And I get it. They've been through enough of these and they're sick and tired of going through these. They're not getting the football and things aren't going their way. And I get all that shit. And it's tough. And if you've ever been on a losing team, you know how brutal these final games can be. I've been in some bad situations before on some bad teams. And you get to the end and you're like, can this shit just be over? I don't even want to go to practice today. Why am I even here? It's a waste of time. I've been there. I know the mindset, which is why I can visualize these players kind of going through the motions. I get it. But at this point, I want to see who wants it. Who has pride? Who's going to play until the bitter end and show us that, hey, no matter how this shit goes, you're going to get the best that I've got to give. On some Anita Baker shit, I'm giving you the best that I've got. May not be enough, but at least you know You got one. You got a real one in me. How many of those on the team? How many of those on the squad? Because I'm almost at the point now where I'm like, just play the young boys. They don't know no better. Remember that Week 18 game last year against Dallas? We ain't had shit to play for. All the veterans were pretty much done. They turned the young boys loose. Benning, Poto Ai, and Khalid Hudson, and like 2 or 3 other dudes played in that game. What's the small running back that we cut this year? Jared Patterson. Bunch of young boys got the nod in a meaningless Week 18 game and went out and played their asses off. Tons of energy. If the veterans are going to mail the shit in and they don't give a damn, put the young boys in. Put the young boys in. I just want to watch some shit that's competitive. If you ain't planning on being competitive, don't even get on the plane to go to LA. I ain't saying you got to win, but I ain't trying to watch another 30-point ass whooping neither, where we don't even score 20. If you ain't trying to be competitive, if you ain't look like, if you're not even trying to look like a real NFL outfit, why even bother wasting anybody's time? We're going to see who's going to give max. I know Sam's going to give maximum effort. He's playing for his job. The more losses we have, the less likely it is he's back as the starting quarterback next year. He knows that. Who else is on board? Who else is willing to ride? He can't do it by himself. He's tried this season. All I'm looking for down this final 4 games this season, and I'm going to tell in this Rams game, this will tell me all I need to know. If we don't get effort in the first game back from the bye week, we're not going to get effort the rest of the season. It's going to be abundantly clear. If you can't come back with a clear mind, fresh legs, and a different perspective, like even Jonathan Allen kind of walked back some of the statements he made because he was pissed off. I said, I know he was mad. I'm not even going to hold him to that. He wants to win. Don't get it twisted. And he may start looking for some options in the offseason because he's sick of this shit. But he wants to win here too. And if I've already said it, I've already laid it out for you. If the new GM comes in here and makes it priority to sit down with Jonathan Allen, who may request a trade, and they say, hey, look, Jonathan, we're not trading you, bro. Here's the thing. And come here, let's talk. And they talk him into, hey, this is what the vision is. He'll be on board. But he's just like us. He's tired of losing. The only thing about it is you can't be as boisterous as he's been and then not posting, big numbers. But with the talent around him, it's tough for him to do anything. I'm going to be honest with you. You would love it if he was out here getting after it, but he got Casey Toohill and James Smith-Williams, who's banged up. So now it's Andre Jones and KJ Henry. And I mean, these are the guys that are out there next to him. Like it's not a lot. The linebackers aren't any good. Now Jamin's down for the season. So there ain't shit there. And then the secondary is trash. So, I mean, honestly, it's going to be tough. At the end of the day, we're going to find out a lot about the pride of this team. Because I watched a lot of prideful teams in Week 14. Can we be one of them in Week 15 or no? Because if we're not, then I know I don't expect to win many more games. As a matter of fact, I don't expect to win this game in particular. But I do expect to be competitive. That's not an unreasonable request as a fan. I'm not asking you to win the game at this point. We are who we are. Okay, I get it. But is it unreasonable to ask you to just be competitive for 4 quarters, not 3 like you were against Dallas, not for 6 minutes like you were against the Dolphins, not for a half of football like you've been for a number of games this season? But is it unreasonable to ask you to be competitive for 4 quarters? That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's see what happens. We'll find out a lot about this team, I think, this week. Anyway, let's get to in other news. We heard from Sam Howell. We heard from a slew of players, as I've already mentioned. But Sam is really the only guy that I really want to talk about what he had to say, because I've already told you what the players had to say. They all had, the coach speak and the same rhetoric that we heard before the bye week. Guys got to play for pride, and I think I heard like Logan Thomas acknowledge, hey, it's tough having to bye this late and knowing that the shit is already over, and then having to come back to work after you had a taste of what the offseason is about to be. It's tough. We can see the finish line. It's only 4 games left. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. So, and I can respect that. Anyway, let's take a look first, though, at the Week 15 injury report for both teams. Then we'll get into what Sam had to say, and then we'll go to the first look at the Rams matchup this Sunday. So, as you can see, pretty lengthy list for post-bye week, especially being that prior to the bye, we had like 3-4 guys on the list total. Now, this list is probably a little bit longer than it needs to be, because we know Jamin Davis is out for the season, so he doesn't even need to be up here, but he is. Brian Robinson has a hamstring. His season's pretty much done at this point. That's my guess. If it's a significant hamstring, why would he? I mean, it's going to take him pretty much a month to come back. At that point, you got 1 or 2 games left in the season for what, right? His season's done. Shut him down. James Smith-Williams, he might be back this week. He may not be. But we know he's dealing with a hamstring that he sustained in the, I want to say it was the Giants game. If memory serves me correct, it's probably the Giants game that he got the hamstring injury in. Sadiq Charles has just been elevated, or he had his 21-day window activated off of IR, so he'll be back. Now the question is he playing? And if so, whose spot is he taking? Are they going to reinsert him into the lineup over Chris Paul? Or are they just glad to have him back and they got another guy that if they want to throw him into the mix? I mean, honestly, that's the only spot he would be taking is Chris Paul's. That's who took his spot. Chris Paul, he's physical, stouter at the point of attack, but he can't move. So maybe they go back to Sadiq Charles. That's my guess. And then Emmanuel Forbes, we were told prior to the bye that, he would have a cast that they could fit him in and he could play and he'd be ready to go. And if we had a game last week, he would have been ready to go. So we know he's playing. So he doesn't need to be on this list either. So you can take Sadiq Charles, Emmanuel Forbes, and Jamin Davis off this list and just leave it to Curtis Hodges, Brian Robinson, James Smith-Williams, and Tyler Larson, honestly. But Forbes is playing, Sadiq Charles is playing, Jamin Davis is out for the season. So you get to the, meat and potatoes of this list. Curtis Hodges had an injury before the bye week. We still don't even know what happened. We don't even care, honestly. And not to be harsh, but what has Curtis Hodges done? All right. I already talked about B-Rob. I think his season's done. James Smith-Williams, if he doesn't come back by next week, because I don't think he's playing this week either. If he doesn't come back by next week, just shut him down already. What are we doing? Larson, I think he'll play. He dealt with a knee injury last week, 2 weeks ago, and he played. And he seems to be a guy that at the end of seasons is always dealing with something. Normally, he doesn't finish the season. So just the fact that he's still available for us right now it's a miracle. But clearly he's ailing and he's an older guy, so he's kind of limping to the finish line, so to speak. But I digress. Let's get to the Rams side of things. Tutu Atwell is in concussion protocol, and if you watched the Ravens game with the Rams last week, he took a pretty nasty spill on the sidelines. He's not playing in this game. I'll just tell you that right now. Rob Havenstein, groin, did not practice. I won't count him out. Tyler Higbee, neck, didn't play last week against the Ravens, but his replacement, rookie Davis Allen out of Clemson, scored his first career touchdown and had himself a pretty nice damn game. So whether Higbee plays or not, the Rams are still going to have a tight end that's capable of eating our ass up. Michael Hoyt, knee, limited participant. I expect him to be out there. Same with Ben Skoranek, ankle, and Quentin Lake, hamstring, full participant. So nobody, really no real names of note other than the first three guys. And the two that didn't practice are the ones to pay attention to. All the rest of the guys, I would assume, are going to play in the game on Sunday. And I wouldn't count Rob Havenstein out. Tutu Atwell, I think, is going to miss the game, if I had to guess. All right. So we heard from Sam, and it's been fun listening to Sam this season, because Sam he's optimistic. I'll say that. He's been talking about how he believes in this team and how they're much better than what they've shown, and they just got to put it together, and they got to be more consistent. And I'm like, bless your heart, Sam. It's not going to happen, bro. But it's not for a lack of trying on his part. We've seen this guy risk, body and limb to go out, try to pick up first downs, to try to score touchdowns, et cetera, et cetera. He's trying. But he's going to need some help. And, I love the fact that he's very aware, not just of, what's going on around him, but he's very self-aware. And I think that is a necessary trait to be a good quarterback in this league, and one that is respected within the locker room, is having the ability to be critical and aware of what's going on. And so while he talked about Terry being a great leader, he also talked about, Terry being frustrated, not getting him football. And he said, some of that's on me. I got to do a better job of getting him the football. We all got to do a better job of getting him the football. But I know he's frustrated, and he's a guy that deserves. It was crazy. I was listening to Chris Collinsworth, I think it was. It was what game was it? It was Monday Night Football. It was Troy Aikman. And he said, what is really benefiting Jordan Love is that he doesn't have a star receiver. And so he doesn't really have a guy that he has to feed the football. It's a good wide receiver room. They're all young. It's the blind leading the blind. And so there isn't this need to make sure that I get X, Y, or Z, a certain amount of touches. There's no pressure there, right? And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I guess I would prefer to have a dog I can throw the football to, but it makes sense. If a Terry McLaurin didn't exist on this roster, we wouldn't be complaining about the lack of targets for Logan Thomas or the lack of targets for De'Ami Brown, but because we do have a Jahan Dotson, a Terry McLaurin, guys that we think are fully capable of this league, of being dynamic playmakers, especially Terry having already done it in his career multiple times. We know the importance of getting him the football, and it just hasn't happened. So Sam talked about, the need to do that. We've heard that from him before, and shit hasn't changed. And again, some of it is on him, but a lot of it is on the play caller. Because if you design a play for Terry to touch the ball, or you say, hey, we're going to get Terry the ball, then you can get Terry the ball. And Sam can say, no matter what, if I get this look, I'm going to Terry. And I know he's not the first read, but I'm going to Terry. But that's not what he does. But anyway, and he's young. I don't expect him to do that yet. That's why it's the play caller that I put the onus on. Because if Sam were in his third or fourth year, then I would say, yeah, Sam's got to do a better job. Sam is essentially a rookie this year. So I don't expect him to be able to do. He's trying to just run the plays as they're called and go through it and do the right thing. He's not at the point where he can start improvising and going off script with pre-snap reads and saying, hey, I see what they're in. I'm going to Terry. To hell with the way we practiced it this week. I'm working the front side. Terry's on the back side. To hell with that. I'm going to Terry. No, he's going to do it the way they practiced it, because that's where he is in his development. he's not at the point now where he can start making those types of changes already. Anyway, he talked about seeing Carson Wentz. Remember, Wentz is on the Rams, and so he said they still talk regularly. He said he'll probably talk to him this week, and they get there a day early, so he would like to chop it up with him, and he probably will. He talked about Drake May entering the NFL draft, which he announced 2 days ago. And Sam's like, yeah, he's got a bunch. He's like, I talk to him almost every day. That's one of my best friends. He's got a lot of good people around him. You know, they'll take care of him. They'll steer him in the right direction. If he needs me, he knows he can ask me anything. I can help him with that. I'm thinking to myself, they might draft your buddy to come take your spot. I don't think they would do that, but you never know, right? It's a cutthroat business here we're dealing with, right? But all in all, here was the thing that struck me the most about Sam, and it was his ability to effectively and accurately depict what these final 4 games of the season are for him. He said, one thing that I evaluated during the bye week was I got to be more consistent. And that's been the biggest thing for him is consistency. We've seen flashes, and he even said, I've done some really good things, but it's the consistency. And I think that speaks to the larger point about this team's struggles. I've said this since the start of the season. This team is capable of beating anybody. They've proven that this season already. They're capable of beating anyone. They're also capable of losing to anyone. They've proven that as well. And what they've also proven is that they are great at being consistently inconsistent. We don't know what Washington team is going to show up week to week. Hell, we don't even know what Washington team is going to show up from half to half, let alone quarter to quarter. Shit, drive to drive, snap to snap. We have no idea what we're going to get from this team. The only thing that I can tell you right now is that if we don't score any points on our first 2 possessions of the game, usually the shit goes sideways. There is a large enough sample size with that I can say, feel pretty confident. And I know right away, if we don't score any points on the first 2 possessions of the game, we're in trouble. That's pretty much rang true all season long. But he not only talked about going back, watching previous games prior to the bye, but also watching games earlier in the season where he was a little bit more successful and kind of seeing what he needed to do. And he said that the biggest thing is I got to be more consistent. And he said, look, I know what these final 4 games represent. We got to win some games. You know, I got to play better. I gotta make the decision for them easy. One way or the other, he may make the decision for them easy. He plays well down the stretch. He puts it wins a game or 2, puts you out of the range of the 2 or the 3 pick and puts you outside of the top 3, top 4, and makes it a lot easier for them to go in a different direction. Cool. You continue to struggle. You're inconsistent. This offense fails to score 20 points as they have the last 3 weeks. And you get blown out by 30 points again every week like you've been doing the prior 2 weeks to the bye. Everybody's evaluated, including the quarterback. And if you end up with that 3rd pick, chances are it could be a quarterback. You end up with that 2nd pick, chances are it could be a quarterback. And he knows that. And he said, I got to make the decision on them easy by going out and playing well and being consistent, taking care of the football. You keep losing games, you put yourself in a tough spot. So he understands what's at stake here. So we'll see. I got no worries about Sam's effort. I already know what he's bringing to the table. It's about the other guys that I worry about. All right. Let's get to our first look at the Rams. So the Rams are an interesting team. To me, they're the anti-Washington in this sense. If I asked you to name 4 Ram defenders not named Aaron Donald, could you do it right now? I'd give you $200. I know you couldn't do it, but I asked you to do it. If we were face-to-face and I said right here on the spot, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Name me 4 Rams defenders. Could you do it? Not name Aaron Donald. And you wouldn't be able to do it. It is the most ragtag bunch of guys I've ever seen in the league. And you know what they've had to do? Because of they did this to themselves. They got nobody to blame for this but themselves. They had to get guys in the 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th round. They had to get undrafted guys. They had to scour other teams' practice squad and the waiver wire to find players. Why? Because they don't have 1st or 2nd round picks most years. They've given away all of their 1st round picks. They haven't drafted in the 1st round since like 26 or 17, bro. I'm not bullshitting you. The Rams don't give a shit about 1st round picks, and there's plenty of years where they don't have a 1st or a 2nd. Their draft doesn't start until the 3rd round. And so they have to find diamonds in the rough. And what they've done with guys like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams, Tyler Higbee, these are gems that they found. Go look at their offensive line. These are gems that they found and uncovered and unearthed. Joseph Noteboom, Allen at center, like these are 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round picks. What do you know about Michael Hoyt? Huh? Former defensive lineman, 300 pounds, that they converted to an outside linebacker. He's like 290 playing outside linebacker. What do you know about Yeast playing the safety position? What you know about Akilo Witherspoon on his 3rd or 4th team having a career year? I mean, I can go on and on with the guys on their football team. And they're playing well. You know, they're getting contributions from guys you've never heard of. They're well coached. I said all of that to say this. They're well coached. They get the most out of their talent. They don't have household names. They don't have 1st or 2nd round picks. They don't have guys that were stars in college. They got a bunch of dudes who just play ball, and they take the coaching. They put these guys on the field, and they're giving them a shot every week. And if you watch them against Baltimore on Sunday, you know we don't stand a chance in hell. If they play the way they played against the Ravens on Sunday, we will get another 40 spot put on our head, and we will lose that game by 30 plus points, like we have the last 2 weeks in particular. And if the trend continues, Cooper Kupp will have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it's probably even worse in this game because they've got 2 receivers. So the way I see it, Puka Nacua probably goes over 100, and so does Cooper Kupp. Because we don't cover anybody's top flight receiver. You got a number 1, go ahead and put him down for $150 plus. Definitely over 100 for sure. That's easy work against our secondary. Now the question is, how bad is it? We talked about Tyreek Hill. Everybody knows you can't give him single coverage. We did it on the first possession of the game. They laughed at our dumbass. Gave it to him twice because we had a coverage bust on the second one. Last time we saw the Rams, Aaron Donald had 4 sacks. Troy Reader, the linebacker that I'd never heard of prior to that game, 4 sacks. You think we ever heard of Aaron Donald? Because we clearly hadn't heard of Tyreek Hill. Clearly hadn't heard of him. Remember when Urban Meyer came into the league as the coach of the Jaguars, and he was watching film of the Rams, and he said, who's this number 99 guy? And the staff looked at him like, bro, you kidding, right? Like, Herb made a funny. Herb's being funny. Come on, coach, stop playing, man. 99. Who's 99, man? And Urban's like, nah, I'm dead ass. Who's 99? This guy's effing amazing. And the staff's looking around like, yo, is this guy serious? Bro, no, seriously, you don't know who that is? Oh, we got no shot. you don't know who 99 is, we got no shot. That's kind of how I feel as a Washington fan. Like, you don't know who number 10 is? No, you're kidding, man. Right? These guys go over 2,000 yards. You don't know who he is. Yeah, right. Stop playing, man. Like, we got double him, right, coach? No, who is he? This guy's pretty damn fast. Who is he? Oh, you're serious? You don't know who Tyreek Hill is? Oh, oh, wow. That's kind of how I feel about Aaron Donald. He's going to have 6 sacks in this game. Like, I watched him at Ravens game. And they were double teaming him every play. Like John Harbaugh said, we have to have 4 hands on him at all times. There were plays where this man was touched by 8 hands, not 6. There was a play where I saw him, he got doubled by the guard and the tackle, or excuse me, he got doubled by the guard and the center. They pushed him over towards the tackle. Then the guard and the tackle doubled him up, and then the tight end went and got a piece of him at the end. Like, he got pushed from one double team, from center to guard, to then guard tackle, from guard to tackle to tight end. And that's how they dealt with him on that play. 8 different hands touched him on that play. And I guarantee you he'll see some single coverage, 10 to 12 snaps in this game. And he'll get 3 or 4 sacks, at least 5 or 6 pressures, and at least 4 quarterback hits in this game on Sam. We'll act like we've never seen Aaron Donald and we don't know who the hell he is. That's what we do. I will be amazed if Aaron Donald doesn't have at least 2 sacks in this game. Amazed. And if he doesn't have 2 sacks, if he doesn't wreck the game or wreck a possession or 2, like just off the strength of, oh shit, there's Aaron chasing Sam again. Sam had to vacate the pocket, throw the ball away. I'm going to be shocked because the attention to detail hasn't been here all season long. We just don't pay attention to the little things that make you a winner in this league. We're dodos. So we let the other team's best players come in here and do best player shit like we didn't already know what they were capable of. So I shudder to think at what's going to happen because we're not getting any pressure on Matthew Stafford. We already know that is the case. So he showed me some vintage Stafford shit last week. I mean, he threw one down by his shoe tops. He was throwing from all angles. One of the shits, he threw it from down by his hip. I'm like, yo, Matt, you showing off now, bro. What the hell are you doing right now? He threw it so low, I didn't even see the shit on the TV copy. You didn't even see him throwing the ball. You just saw the ball come out because he threw it from such a low angle. Yeah, this shit could get ugly, man. We're going to find out real quick if they're going to fight in this game or not. We go 3 and out or we turn it over on our first 2 possessions and the Rams go down and score. If we can't stop Kyron Williams, he's been a man possessed here lately. He had 115 yards or 114 yards on 25 carries against the Ravens. I told you what he did against the Cardinals a few weeks back. He's been a workhorse lately. And if we can't stop him, we got no chance. None. I can't imagine us slowing down Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua. It could get really ugly, man. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, all I'm looking for is, hey, offense, can you just give us something? Give us something. I know we can't rely on the defense at this point. Offense, can you give us something to make it a competitive game? Anything. I don't know. We'll see. Let's get to social media maneuvers and then we'll get out of here. I don't want to hold you much longer than I need to. So, video channel. First of all, before I get to any comments, I just want to give a quick shout out to all my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Can't thank you enough for the support over on Patreon. Shout out to all the members of the MOBB. As I've said before, the mob and Patreon supporters are the lifeline of the Louie T Network. And I can't thank all of you enough for all that you do for the Louie T Network. So just want to give y'all a quick shout out. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, video channel. Hope you and the fam are good. Since you're a Notre Dame fan, give us your thoughts on Joe Alt. He's a really good tackle. If I had to give you a comp right now, and I may change this after I watch him, more intently, just going off of me watching him over the years, I'd say he's like a Jake Matthews type of tackle. He's a technician, fundamentally sound, really solid athlete, not a great athlete. I think we'll see that during the combine and in his workouts. He's a good athlete, really good. This is the thing. He was a former tight end, so he is an athlete. So don't get it twisted. His ass can move, okay? But he's not freakishly athletic. He's not Penei Sewell, right? He's not one of these dudes where you go, oh, my God. But that shit don't matter. You could be freakishly athletic, but if you don't have the fundamentals and the technique down, that shit don't matter. And he's got that. Fundamentally, he is as sound as it gets. I will say, here's one issue I have with him. Sometimes his nose can get over his toes, out in front of his toes sometimes. Like he'll reach for a block sometimes. I'd like him to kind of stay over his toes and stay balanced and not lunge, to make a block from time to time. But I'm nitpicking, man. He's a clean prospect. I think he's a day one plug and play dude that, could be a Pro Bowl type. I don't know if he's an all pro. He's a Pro Bowl tackle, I think, for the next decade type of guy. Like he has a chance to maybe be an all pro. But I know he's a Pro Bowl type of player. I do know he's that. Evan C. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what's good, Lou? What's up, Evan? Curtis Samuel is one of the very few dudes on this team that still looks like he's given 100% on every play and not checked out. Facts. He's the guy that him and Brian Robinson were the two guys he was finding on those scramble drills, right? Where shit breaks down, guys still working down the field to get open. Curtis is the one that he's looking to because Curtis is the only one that's really like creating separation. Yeah, Curtis is, because you know why, though? If we keep it in a buck, Curtis is playing for a contract. He can't take his foot off the gas pedal. Whether it's here or somewhere else, Curtis has to put that tape out there. Because he's got some bread to attend to. So I know why he's playing like his life depended on it, because his livelihood does. If he wants to get that night, because this will be his last big contract. He's going to be 27, I believe. We got him when he was 25, like literally going into his prime. So 25, 26, and then 27. And now he's going into that last contract, right? So now you got to break the bank. This is the last one you're going to get where you're going to be able to eat like this. So he's going out and he's making sure he lets everybody know the numbers might not be earth-shattering, but I'm capable. Don't let the numbers fool you, because I stick it to you. Colton Wheeler, been a member for 14 months. Who writes, happy holidays to you and yours, Lou. Likewise, Colton. Not sure why so many people in the media expect us to blow up our roster like we have zero talent on the roster. It's just because of how it's looked of late. It makes it easy for you to say things like, oh, this roster is depleted of any talent. They got to blow this thing up and start anew. Like, I've heard that from a lot of fans. Oh, they got to blow this thing up. This team sucks. There aren't any good players on this team. Speaking of which, I want to ask you a question. And you guys can give me an answer now. You can give it to me in the comment section after this video is done. Whatever. If I forced you to give me one Pro Bowl player on this team, nobody on this team is deserving of the Pro Bowl. Let me just start by saying that. We don't have a single Pro Bowl player on this team. Not a single one. That said, if I forced you to give me a Pro Bowl player on this team this year, who would it be? I just want one. You don't have to give me a list of 3 or 4 dudes. Well, it's close because this guy, just give me one. We don't have a lot of guys that would even qualify for this conversation. So just give me one. I know who mine is. I'm going to keep it to myself. I'm pretty sure someone's going to name mine, but put it down in the comment section. Or like I said, you can answer that after the show is done. It's up to you. I just wanted to throw that out there. I'll give you mine at the end of tonight's show as we're getting out of here. But to your point, there's talent on this roster. And we made a list the other week we were up here of core guys that are foundational pieces moving forward that you would take and start. You know, if you're the new regime, these are guys that you want on the team that you look to build around. Like, there's talent on this roster, man. I'm not subscribing to that. I don't know why, people are doing that. It's low-hanging fruit. I'll say that. You get blown out on Thanksgiving by 35 points, and then the following week you get blown out by, what did we score? 15? What did we score? 16? I think it was 45-16. Or 15. It was 15 because we kicked a field goal. I don't know why Ronald decided to kick a field goal when we needed a touchdown, clearly. But whatevs. When you get blown out by 35 and 30 respectfully in a 2-week span, and you give up 90 points and you only scored 25, yeah, people start to think that your roster is trash. So, Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Chris writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? Hope you and the family are having a good holiday season. Likewise, Chris. Likewise. How would you assess Josh Harris's tenure as owner? What do you like about what he's done in the areas of opportunity for the future? So there's really nothing to assess. He's only been here less than a year. I mean, literally, he started in July. I mean, we aren't even 6 months into his tenure yet. We're in month 5? Started in July, late July. We're in December. So we haven't even gone through a half year yet. So there's not really much to assess here. The thing I can tell you I like is his patience. He hasn't been, he hasn't been guilted by the fan base into making any rash decisions, which I don't expect a billionaire to be that fickle, but we've seen billionaires be that fickle, as in the case of Panthers owner David Tepper. So he could be like one of these other owners who just can't sit still, but that hasn't been his move, right? He hasn't done anything rash. He hasn't come in here and made wholesale changes. He hasn't come in here and made any crazy declarations. Kind of just took a step back, assessed everything, let the season play out. And then he's going to start to move after the season's done, which is what you should do. So I've appreciated the patience that he's shown. The non-committal to making a name change. I love that because you don't want to tell this fan base anything right now. You don't want to promise them or make it sound like you're promising them anything, because whether you change the name or not really doesn't matter. For some, it does. I personally don't give a shit. I just want to win. But there is a crowd out there. There is a sector of the fan base that wants the name changed. And if you tell them something that remotely sounds close to changing the name, they're going to be on you. You said you don't want to do that. So he stayed away from that as well. So I think he's done a really good job at doing all that. Now, what I think he needs to do, obviously this offseason is huge. I don't need to explain to you why it's huge. This is going to shape the direction of this team for the next 5 to 7 years. Easy. You know, you F the GM situation up, and it's going to set us back up. It's going to set us back at least 5 to 7 years. Easy. But outside of that, the stadium. I've said that the first thing I wanted him to take care of was the stadium. And while he's taking care of FedEx Field because it's going to be home to Washington for at least the next 4 years, that lease isn't up until 2027. I'd like them to figure out where they're breaking ground on the new stadium and get that shit going. So when FedEx Field's lease is up, we can just move out of that bitch. I don't want us to be still playing there or having to play at somebody's college stadium while the new stadium is being built. Figure out where the new stadium is going to be. I know there's a lot of logistical hurdles that have to be cleared, and this has to be cleared, and that to figure out where exactly, especially if you want it downtown in DC, now that they're losing the hockey and basketball team, shit, there's nothing else left other than football if they can bring it back, right? But they got to figure out some things. At the end of the day, I do want them to figure out what the stadium situation is going to be. But I've liked everything that I've seen from him thus far. But again, it's not a huge sample size. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy Chris. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy Chris writes, "Hey Lou, I can accept losing a football game if the other team has better talent and beats us, but not by giving 100% and not being internally motivated to play. Thoughts? Also, what are your thoughts on the new 12-team college football in 2024? So pretty much my rant to start the show was on that particular topic there. And whether you were here for that or not, or you were essentially asking me about that rant, I'm going to just reiterate what I said earlier, which is I have low tolerance for a lack of desire to give me 100% effort. I have quitting, which is what I equate to quitting at this point, because you know the season's done. There's nothing else to play for. And I've been on some losing teams. I've been at the end of a bad season, and the easiest thing to do is quit. The tough thing is to keep trudging forward and giving 100% effort. That's the hard thing. The easy thing is to let go of the rope. Anybody can do that. You find out, and you hear this a lot, but it's so true. You find out the real test of a person's character when shit is its toughest. When you up, man, it's easy to be the best version of yourself when you up. When you get that income tax money and you flying around and you're like, bro, I got bread to blow, right? And the bank account is looking fat and you feeling good about everything right now. If I want to buy this, I can. If I want to buy that, I can. If I want to go here, I can. If I want to do that, I can. But what happens when the shit gets low? You ain't got any money in your bank account. And shit is due. And hard times are there. Now what? We'll really find out what you made of. Right? What are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do? We'll find out about your character. It's easy when shit's going well. When everything in your life is positive, it's easy to be the best version of yourself. But when shit's hard, when times are hard, when life smacks you in the face, and you start thinking some crazy shit. I've been there. You know, when you start thinking some crazy shit, and then you got to snap out of it, and you're like, bro, what are we doing right now? Hell no. Not doing that shit. But for a second, it was a fleeting thought. But you know better than that. Because you have morals. You have decency. You have character. At some point, I know they're getting paid to do this. It's not quite the same. It's not as big as life. But at some point, you got to make a decision. Who do I want to be? Jonathan Allen said, I'm playing for my legacy. That's what's important to me. When I'm done playing, I want guys, I want fans, I want everybody to say, hey, one, that guy was a winner. But two, I want everybody to know every time I stepped on the field, I gave him 110%. I gave him everything that I had. There'll never be a doubt about that. You can never question that. I'm trying to leave a legacy behind. Well, these are the moments where you continue to build that legacy. Because clearly, ain't no winning going on here. Ain't no good shit coming of a 4-9 season with 4 games left. When you're getting your ass spanked every week and your team looks like it's quit. You know the coach is getting fired. You know pretty much the entire staff's going to be gone. So there's no reason to play for those guys. Can't hit me with the play for the guy next to you. Montez Sweat has already pretty much told us that shit wasn't happening in Washington. Charles Leno Jr. just told me to my face, hey, I'm just worried about me. Ain't nobody playing for the guy next to him anymore. That shit's over with. How bad do you want to play for yourself then if you're not going to play for the guy next to you? Do you have any pride? Is it in there? Because, again, I watched every game in week 14, and I didn't see one team mail it in. I don't know if there was one blowout in week 14. Even the Panthers game that looks lopsided. Okay, the Texans got their ass handed to them 30-7. And it didn't feel competitive in the second half. But outside of that game, I don't know. And the Cowboys beat up the Eagles pretty good as well. But but those are good teams, actually. The Texans are a good team this year. The Eagles are a good team this year. Like they didn't mail it in, they just got their ass kicked. I don't want to watch a team give me half-assed effort for 3 hours, which is what I've watched the last 2 games this team has played. 3 if you want to go back to the Giants game. But I thought they were competitive in spurts in that game. We were never competitive against the Dolphins at all in that game. We were never competitive. And we were competitive with Dallas for 3 quarters. I can't deal with guys that don't want it. So quitting is something that I can't reconcile in my brain. So I just want to see dudes that give a shit on Sunday. That's it. Not asking for much, like I said. The 12-team playoff. First of all, I didn't even know that was a thing. So that's news to me. I thought they would go to 8. 12 seems a bit much. But, college football and really collegiate sports, but particularly college football, it's a money grab. So the more teams, the merrier, the more money you're going to make. All right. I think you're watering it down with 12 teams. 8 would have been the perfect number if you ask me. Because there's usually in any given year, there's not 12 teams that deserve to play more football. Now, I guess I get it from this standpoint. If you want to let some of the non-Power 5 teams in who went 12-0, sure. 12 teams allows you to do that. But if we're being honest, there ain't more than 6 teams usually in any given year that deserve to be in the conversation for a national championship. And sure, you can let Coastal Carolina in. You can let BYU in, who went 12-0. I'm just making up stuff, right? You can let in Western Kentucky. They went 12-0 and had a magical season. They're not beating Alabama. They're not beating Georgia. They're not beating Texas. Maybe they'll beat Texas. I don't know. But who are we kidding? They're not winning the national championship. Why are we letting these teams in? They're not winning the national championship. This isn't college basketball. 8 would have been fine. I think 12 is too much, but we're going to watch. That's what we do. So, and they're going to get more money out of it. Meest, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Meest writes, been a while since I donated. My bad, Lou. You're good, bro. You don't have to apologize for that. Do you have a preference between the top 2 tackles in the upcoming draft yet? No, I don't, because I haven't watched the Penn State tackle, Olu Fashanu, yet. I can't tell you anything about him other than he's supposed to be athletically gifted, which without even seeing him, you tell me he went to Penn State, I tell you he's probably athletically gifted, because of the last, I'd say, decade, we can definitely narrow it down to probably the last 7 years. No collegiate program has produced better athletes than Penn State. Dudes that were drafted strictly off of athletic ability, i.e. Troy Apke. Nobody's producing better athletes than Penn State. And we can go down the list of dudes that got into the league and you're like, yep, that dude's an athlete. That guy's an athlete. That dude's an athlete. That's what Penn State does. So I could just tell you right now he's probably an athlete. But you know who else was an athlete? Ike Ekwonu, who starts for the Carolina Panthers, who was getting his ass whooped this year in his second year. So that athlete shit doesn't move the needle for me. Are you good or are you an athlete? Or here's the key. Are you both? That's when we change in the game. We'll see. Most people I talked to said, if you're looking for the upside, you take Fashanu. If you're looking for the steady Eddie, sure thing, you take Alt. So that's probably, if I had to guess, that's probably how it's going to be. Dill likes hoops. Thank you for becoming a member of the MOBB mob. Y'all know what to do. Show Dill likes hoops some love. Welcome him with open arms. Show him what it's like to be a member of the MOBB. Dill likes hoops. Welcome to the squad. Glad to have you. C Trill, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. C Trill, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, what's up, Lou? We extend Robinson, right? No. I mean, he's only going into his 3rd year. You don't have to extend him until after his 3rd season. So, no, you don't extend Brian Robinson. The new regime's not going to come in here and extend a 2nd-year player going into his 3rd season. Unless that guy is just absolutely killed it and you got a chance to get a super discount on him. No, you're not doing that. They're going to let him play his 3rd season, see how he plays. If he plays well, then you start talking contract with him because you don't want him to go into his final year of his deal without a deal, and then you have to worry about maybe franchise tagging him. But the running back position is one that doesn't force you to have to do that. We've seen what teams have done with running backs. They let them go into that final year of their deal without a deal and make them prove it again, and if they do, then they franchise tag them. And we just saw it with Josh Jacobs. You know, same thing with Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley. I mean, we already know how this works. So, no, he's not getting a new deal. Anyway, I digress. So, that's the last comment. Now, we get out of here. I appreciate y'all for checking out the kid tonight. And I'll just say this. I'm going to leave y'all with this. I told y'all I would tell you at the end of the show. Give me a Pro Bowl player. Mine this season. Again, let me reiterate this. We don't have a single Pro Bowl player on this roster. Okay. No one is deserving of the Pro Bowl, but maybe if we get 5 alternates, 5 guys that decline to go, which it's different now. It's in Orlando, wherever the hell they have it these days, and flag football and these events. Guys are more receptive to that, I guess. Unless you get like 4 dudes that don't want to go, nobody on our team should end up at the Pro Bowl this year. But if I had to choose one guy, it would be Sam Cosmi for me. I think this has been his best year as a pro. knock on wood, he stayed healthy for the entire season, which has never happened for him. He's played really well. I've been impressed with him. Remember, he's never played guard a day in his life. Not in high school, not in college. He's had, few snaps in the pro level at guard. And this was his first year. And it is an adjustment. And I thought he made the adjustment as seamlessly as you can ask a guy who's played tackle his entire career to make. So there you have it. If I had to take one guy, and I've been really big on Sam Cosmi. I think he's one of the few building blocks we have on the offensive line right now. I like him a lot, and I think you can win with guys like Sam Cosmi. We need to add to Sam on that offensive line and see if we can build a formidable group in front of Sam or whomever is under center moving forward. So Sam Cosmi would be my pick for the Pro Bowl if I had to pick a guy this season. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Don't know if I think I covered everything that I wanted to say tonight. Yeah. I see. I'm looking at the title right now, so to make sure that I didn't miss out on anything. Nothing significant happened. Nothing was said crazy today. Everything that I expected them to say, they said. All of the standard operating procedure lines that you say in a lost season. Actions speak louder than words. That's what I'm looking for. So anyway, I digress. You guys get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Until then, y'all know what it is. God bless and good night.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.